Hello, everyone. Welcome to SFBABAM. Thank you for joining us in our first birthday party. Woohoo! We have a special program for all of us today. And as you know, we have all of our speakers from this time slot rejoining us for what we called SFBABAM Battle Royale. So let me tell you how today's celebration is going to go. First, we're going to have 25 minutes of open floor questions. And thank you so much for submitting your questions ahead of time into Menti. We will ask the questions from there. And you can still put the questions in Menti during this time. And you can also upvote the questions from there. And JF is actually putting the link, the Menti link in the chat as well. Now, after the open floor questions, we have 20 minutes of hand-to-hand combat where we will put the speakers in pairs to answer the same questions. So let's see if their answers are the same or completely different. Then we'll finish with a final lightning round where every speaker will take turns to answer the same question, but they will not be able to hear the questions ahead of their time or be able to hear what other speakers have said. So again, it's open floor questions, then hand-to-hand combat, then final lightning round. And we will close with getting some quick feedback from you. So are we all ready for SFBABAM Battle Royale? Yes? Woohoo! I'm seeing some thumbs up and clapping. All right. So let me bring out our contestants. Oh, wait, I mean gladiators. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean speakers. Okay. So first, we have Dr. Nick Horney, a former U.S. Navy Special Operations Officer and served as a coach for transitioning SEAL team members. He is our May speaker who gave us a talk about VUCA Masters. Nick, you have 3 minutes to give us a recap and takeaways of your talk to refresh people's minds. Nick?
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate everybody's attendance. For me, it's evening time. I'm on the East Coast. So just as a quick backdrop, I've got a bit more gray hair than probably many others along here. I've been at this for about 20 years. When I started up Agility Consulting, I'm an organizational psychologist by background, in addition to my special operations background as well. So I tried to thread those two together. VUCA Masters as a book was really a passion of mine to be able to showcase and be able to provide some profiles of what we refer to as VUCA Masters. First and foremost, many of you are probably very familiar with the term VUCA. And me being a Navy guy, I have a hard time borrowing from the Army, but it's an Army term. It goes back into about 1995. And VUCA really represents volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I think everybody pretty much fully appreciates that we are certainly in times of VUCA, whether it be COVID, whether it be hybrid work, whether it be digital disruption, whether it be our own personal lives. We are impacted, and the description for the marketplace and the environment around us is certainly very disruptive. In other words, VUCA. So I set about creating a book that really would help describe what VUCA was all about in this new world of work, hybrid work, design, et cetera, but through the lens of agility. And I've been focusing in on primarily on leadership agility, over the past 20 years. Again, as a psychologist, focusing in on leadership development and organizational development, but certainly through the lens that I've had working as an organizational psychologist, both inside of organizations and outside as a consultant. With that said, utilize a metaphor of leadership agility fitness, very similar to what you go through once a year in terms of your own physical fitness. We hopefully go in for our annual physical exam, blood is taken, weight is taken, and the doctor sits down as our coach and says, you need to continue doing this and you need to do less of that. And it may be continue exercise, start eating less, and start drinking less alcohol and getting more sleep. So it could be some combination of those things that really speaks to that annual physical exam that we have. part of the argument of the book is that we need to be doing the same thing in terms of leadership agility and for leaders to be able to do at a minimum a 1-year assessment of their leadership agility fitness, so that in fact we can look at, and that leader can look at, what kind of developmental activity can and should they be going through. The third component of this is really around the concept of VUCA Masters, and VUCA Masters itself, which is the core title of the book, are those individuals, whether it's at work or in their personal lives, where they have actually been able to achieve peak agility in all of the 5 major areas of the agile model that I have represented on the screen behind me. And the agile model was a model that I created back in 2001. Wow, all kinds of new things happening. Okay, back in 2001. And with that, there wasn't a consistent model or a framework, at that point in time. So I looked across a number of different settings and came up with the agile model. And the 5 core elements of the agile model include anticipating change, generating confidence, initiating action, liberating thinking, and evaluating results. And if you look at this quick snapshot over here, wow, interesting.
Actually, I'm sorry, Nick. We will need to wrap it up.
Okay, is that great? Okay, that was my signal.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And yes, and other co-organizers, I need your help, and Evan, I also need your help. Is there any way to disable screen sharing for participants? Only co-hosts can do screen sharing.
Can you go ahead and make me a co-host or something else, or this might need to be done with being a host?
Yeah, same as me. I'll
I can change the setting in security in co-host, and I'm disabling share screen.
All right.
And
so
topical. Awesome, Nick. Loves the
probably best to
topic,
just
Nick.
mute.
Lovely.
Probably best to mute everyone and then
as well.
Block anyone being unmuted or being able to unmute themselves, and then we can move forward from there.
Thank you. And yes, co-organizers, I will need your help to also keep kicking people out. I know that I see that you guys have already, but it seems like we have a lot more than usual. So we'll need all of your help. Thank you so much. All right, next we have Michael Sahota, the founder and CEO of Shift 314 Inc. He is our April speaker who talked to us about Shift 314 Leadership Framework. Michael, you have 3 minutes to give us a recap of your talk. And I am actually going to put a 3-minute clock, and you should see that on me. So, all right, Michael.
You need to unmute Michael.
Michael needs to be unmuted.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me. I think the message is really simple. That thanks for that great share there. That we're dealing in a complex world. There's a lot of uncertainty, and our model is actually really straightforward. It's a very simple idea: is that the shift needed for us as leaders, all of us, to function in higher levels of complexity, higher levels of uncertainty, is fundamentally about a shift in our culture, how we as leaders function, our level of consciousness, our worldview, our outlook, and so on. And my background's originally as an engineer working in technical things, moved into helping organizations change. And I realized that the only way this kind of shift, this kind of transformation is possible is if there's a very broad shift in everything that's happening. And essentially what's happened is we've been conditioned into a very constrained way of functioning in our society, through our education systems, through our government, and everything we've experienced pretty much since birth. So we're really trapped in what we can look over here is a very traditional way of functioning and being organized. And this is reflected in different ways: how we understand reality, how leadership functions, how power is used, how people are treated, what our organizational culture is, how we approach change, and really the results we see as organizations. And so what we've decoded this down into is a multidimensional shift that's needed. So each organization you can think is somewhere it's on a journey from oppressed low business results, low adaptability, and so on, to very different kinds of systems, different characteristics, people where they're passionate, engaged, and so on. And there's a shift that's needed at all levels with all people in terms of how they see the world and how they function. And that's really when people talk about the agile mindset or mindset shift. It's really a fundamentally about a shift of consciousness to show up in this way to create the outcomes that we want. It's not just about a structural change. It's not about this one shift, leadership or culture, how we approach change. We actually need a shift in all of these different dimensions. And this kind of change that we're talking about, and this is why the self framework we've created is so powerful. It's about anyone at any level can create a shift without authority, without power and budget. And essentially because each of us are beacons of either a more evolved culture or a less one. And the key factor that determines success or growth is whether each of us individually choose to put effort into changing how we see the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we have Evan. Evan Laybourne is the co-founder of Business Agility Institute, which SFBABAM is a part of. He helped us kick off 2022, and talking about change is the only constant. Evan, let's hear your 3-minute recap.
All right. Sorry, I've been a little bit distracted with some security stuff, so getting back into gear. All right. So a big part of what we were looking at was what it means to be an agile organization and what business agility is at its very core. So one of the things that as an organization we put together is a definition of business agility that's designed to be sort of inclusive and not tied to any particular approach or framework. There are like multiple different ways in which organizations can approach business agility. There's no one true way. What's important to realize is that an organization has, that agility isn't a spectrum, a continuum. That it's not today I have agility, but rather today I have more agility than I had yesterday, or at least I hope that's the direction in which you're heading. But also within an organization, you've got high and low agility simultaneously. And again, that's quite natural. Even within a single team, you're going to have some behaviors that are very strongly expressed and then weaker behaviors that might be really good at psychological safety and really weak at, say, adaptive planning. And again, that's okay. What matters is that you have enough agility to achieve your purpose. So that actually goes to what we would define as the definition of business agility. And of course, my green screen's gone a bit weird now. But we would define business agility as a set of organizational capabilities, behaviors, and ways of working, not practices, not frameworks. It's how you act and how you think. That affords your organization, your business, the freedom, the flexibility, and the resilience to achieve your purpose. Now, those of you familiar with the domains of business agility know that we have customer at the center. I actually got an email just last week about why we don't reference the customer in the definition, in the new well, it's a year old, it's not that new anymore. And the reason is that we use the word purpose. Your customer for a for-profit organization is your purpose, but we want to be more inclusive, and there are organizations for whom the phrase customer, they don't have customers, not in the traditional sense. And so the goal here is to get organizations thinking about why they exist. And for many of you, it's to serve your customer. That's your purpose. But then the last magic 6 words, no matter what the future brings. That's the key. That's the magic to agility. I don't know. None of us predicted COVID-19. Right? We knew that technically COVID-19 isn't a black swan event, it's a white swan event. It's an event that we knew was going to happen. We just didn't know when or where or how or any of the details. So it was a surprise when it happens, but the fact that we had a global pandemic isn't a surprise because we have one every 30 years. Now, the other element that we spoke about, other than I don't have time to go through all the behaviors and the different elements, but I just want to bring into the key concept of theory of constraints. Because when we talk about agility, a large part of it's where do we begin? And many of us began the journey to business agility through agile. And that's fine. But unfortunately, the constraint to agility in an organization is no longer your tech teams. Right? Think of it like building a car, a production line. Joe, you'll like this. Right? If it takes 5 minutes to install the engine and 4 minutes to install the wheels, theory of constraints 101, then, got the car backwards, then it doesn't matter how much transformation you do on the wheel team, because the engine's what's limiting, in this case, your agility. So you want to be focusing on where the constraint to agility is, and it's not for most organizations IT anymore. It doesn't matter if you can deploy every 11 seconds if it takes you 4 months to recruit someone, if it takes you 9 months to get a budget change approved. And so that is, that's the key. If you're going to create agility, you need to think as a system across the system and identify those elements at a business level that constrain overarching agility. Not tech agility. 30 years ago, technology was the constraint. It's not anymore.
Thank you, Evan. So next, we have Marina Alex. She is a pioneer of agile sales, as Evan says. The constraint is no longer in technical side. Now, Marina is also the author of Sway, Sales with Agile. She helped us finish 2021 with a bang in December, talking about agile in sales. So Marina, let's hear your 3-minute recap. Somebody needs to help unmute Marina now. All right, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. I will share 3 secrets which will help you with successful of agile transformation. And all 3 secrets, they're based on my 7 years experience. Secret number 1, involve your sales to agile transformation. Why? Business agility is about customers, right? Who is the closest department who communicates every single day with customers? It's sales. That's why we have to start agile transformation and involve sales department from the beginning, because they're closest people and we have to help them to change their mindset. This is secret number 1, and you can use Sway system, which will help you with that. Secret number 2, involved executives. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I believe in successful of agile transformation without changing mindset of executives. But how to sell them idea about agile changes, because nobody loves changes, right? And I believe that we shouldn't use such words like agile it's mindset, agile it's culture. We have to speak with them, with executives in their language, and their language is money, it's numbers. That's why you can use stories, how agile helped to increase profit, and tell them stories like, for example, my last story, we helped increase we create extra $17 million in one American company just because we applied agile in the company. And the secret number 2, to involve executives and sell them this idea through numbers. And secret number 3, and I travel a lot around the world, and I would say around the world, we have a big problem. It's lack of communication between employees, lack of communication between different departments, lack of communication between company and customers, lack of communication in our families. And I believe that retrospectives, it's the best thing which will help, which is helping with any, to help with any communication in any departments. And secret number 3, apply weekly retrospectives in whole organization, in different departments, in sales, in developers, in executive, in I don't know, everywhere. This is secret number 3. And I believe if you apply all 3 secrets, you will have really successful agile transformation. That's it. I have 8 seconds.
Thank you so much, Marina. And so finally, we have Joe Justice, founder of Team Wikispeed and operated Agile at Tesla from the company headquarters. He is our August speaker telling us about Agile at Tesla. Joe, let's hear your 3-minute recap.
Thank you so much, Manwai. Thank you so much, JF. I got to work with Manwai and JF to try to record what I experienced operating the Agile program in Tesla. I'd already been successful, depending on how you think about that, like happy, healthy family, spiritual success. I guess there's so many dimensions. But I'd worked with Bill Gates. I'd worked with the leadership team at Amazon. So I'd worked for Jeff Bezos. And then what I saw in Tesla, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. It was so incredibly fast to innovate. And they didn't call it Agile in Tesla. And I was processing that. What is this? And I'm lead of a department that people don't use that name in the company. What does this even mean? Decompressing that with Manwai and JF's help is what enabled me to update my book and then start teaching. Some of you saw those set of sessions with SFBABAM and then the podcast they later posted on Audible, etc. My work with JF and Manwai is what enabled me to map it back to what I thought I knew about agility. To summarize, Tesla runs a lot like an open space conference where you don't have a manager. There's someone in a manager role in case of emergency, but who it is rotates multiple times a day. It's anyone who finished the training on their mobile phone. So when you walk into Tesla every day, you look at this large list, like an open space agenda of what you could work on, and you self-organize, use the law of mobility to decide where you work, because there's not a manager that directs you. And you are accountable if you're working on something that's low value. And Tesla enforces this high trust environment. They say right when you're hired, if you're the type of person that waits for manager feedback to decide what to do next, this isn't the place for you. We don't mean to sound harsh. You're just likely not going to fit in here. And the level of actual self-organization through an actually flat organization was unreal. And to put the speed in perspective, some of you have already reacted to this if you were in the session before. Most car companies have what's called a minor model change every 2.5 years, a minor model change. They'll change the way the bumper's shaped and the software and the navigation. Tesla changes 60 parts, like an airbag, the software that fires the airbag computer, the seat fabrics, 60 parts a day. They have a rate of change daily that's faster than most companies' 2.5-year cycle. And it's changed the world. And then I went to visit SpaceX, and some of you heard more about that. Thank you. I look forward to participating in the battle royale today.
All right. Thank you so very much, Joe. Now let's get into our program. So first off, as I said, we have open floor questions. We'll start with the most upvoted question in Menti. And we also set aside previously entered questions that are for specific speakers, and we will ask them throughout this time. A reminder, you can still enter your questions during this section, and you can see the QR code and the Menti code spotlight there. Now, JF, one of our SFBABAM's organizers, is going to host the section. So JF, let's fire away.
Awesome. Thank you, Manwai. So the first question we have is the following. Is it true that Agile is becoming a traditional approach? If yes, what is the new approach, especially for big companies who are adopting? Who would like to take that? Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
I'd love to. So the definition that we call agility is from 2001. So that's 21 years young now. And it specifies timelines of a couple of weeks to a couple of months. In a company like SpaceX or Tesla, yeah, that's really legacy now. I mean, their timelines are minutes or seconds. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, for even software projects, it's minutes or seconds. But they have a lot of automation that helps make that true. But not just them. I mean, Amazon, who's been around for a long time too, but also a juggernaut, Agile native, also works in minutes or hours. So Agile as a concept was revolutionary in 2001. That said, the principles of it, and it's largely principles based, the values of it still fit perfectly and would likely fit in a timeless fashion, no problem, well into the next millennia. So I think we can choose. Now, what it means is some people could follow the letter of agility and be completely uncompetitive. So you can make a case for it that it's outdated, but some people could follow the values of it and still be absolutely revolutionizing their companies and forward leading. That is how I would choose to take it. That said, I'm ready to learn, and we've got an awesome list of participants today. So please follow up.
And anybody else from our panel would like to answer?
Yeah, I think Joe touched on something really important that I'll highlight using a slightly different language, which is agile process and traditional agile transformation as an act of oppression, where agile means go fix our people, is the standard and norm. Agile crossed the chasm 8 years ago. It is the industry norm, is considered industry best practice, but this agile process, which is not actually agile, right? Because agile is doing agile and being agile. And as Joe is highlighting, the essence of agile, the core of agile is actually the mindset shift, which is actually a shift of consciousness, right? I mean, just to be clear here, for people to collaborate, for people to respond to change instead of following a plan, that requires an evolution in how they see the world, their levels of psychological safety, how their entire makeup as a human being. So the challenge with agile, to live it, is that most human beings are not designed for that. That's what Joe was saying with SpaceX. Only certain people can function there. So really, what do you do with human beings on this planet who are not designed or not capable of functioning a truly agile, in the mindset sense, of the world environment? Well, our view is really simple. It's about rehabilitation. We've all been, it's not anyone's fault. And we've just grown up in this world where we've been oppressed by our parents, we've been oppressed by school systems, and we've lost all our adaptability that we had when we were young. And so that's what it's about. It's about helping people reconnect with the authentic truth of who they are as human beings and their full potential and brilliance and capability. And that requires individual evolution and transformation. So.
Thank you, Michael. You wanted to say something, Evan? I saw you, or who else? Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Nick?
Yes, okay. One element that I think that we may be overlooking, and so much of what we often will concentrate on and focus in on, is internal to an organization, internal to ourselves as a psychologist, again, the internal personality, et cetera. The one key factor that I think that we're certainly evolving to, but is a critical component, is we need to be looking externally. We need to be looking at the environment. We need to be looking at what's happening in the world around us, whether it's at a personal level, whether our firstborn is just getting married. There is disruption created around that, and how do we become agile and teach them to become agile, to be able to adapt and thrive in that new world. Our firstborn, now we have a new kid that's with husband and wife, and disrupting our pattern of play that we used to have, be able to go out anytime we wanted to. So there is the component that often is overlooked, being able to look out over the horizon, look at the business environment, look at the world around us and understand the trends and patterns, so that in fact we can get ahead of the game and actually create disruption for our competitors.
All right. Well, we have a question specifically for Marina. So Marina, as we all know, messing with sales bonuses is tricky. So how did you navigate that conversation and convince people without incurring too much attrition?
This is a very good question. And I would say, first of all, we have to change mindset of salespeople, because more than 150 years, they had individual KPIs, right? First of all, we need to change their mindset. But I would say it's not easy. And I'm from sales world. And I remember myself when money, it was the biggest goal in my life. And that's why I came to sales, right? And how to change it? First of all, create a common goals. Because this is one of the problem when salespeople, they don't have a common goal. Step number one, create a common goal. In ideal world, to create a common goal with sales and marketing. It will be ideal situation. Anyway, okay, we have a common goal, then we create a team motivation. And usually it is extra motivation. If they achieve their sales plan as a team, they will have something extra. And then only after maybe 4 or 5 months, we usually change KPIs, but not in the beginning, because it's very sensitive topic for salespeople. And they need to learn how to work as a team. They never worked as a team. They didn't work as a team with the whole organization. That's why we need to help them to have new mindset for that. But then why I told secret number 2 about executives, we have to change KPIs around the whole organization. And we can do it only as an executive team on the top of organization. Because when we start change motivations, we realized many times that we have competitors, like we have marketing, head of marketing and head of sales, and they have completely different goals and KPIs. That's why we have to think all together as executive team, what should we change in whole organization? Because when you have the last thing here, that when you have a cross-functional teams and you have a developer, sales and marketing person, you have to change all system, all structure, and it's big changes. It was a long answer.
Thank you very much. I'm going on with the next question on Menti. The next question that is top of the mind for our attendees is, how does one be an awesome Agile coach for a company in any industry or any function?
Nice, easy question. I mean, come on.
Maybe.
I can start. First of all, we have to be, as Agile coaches, we have to be agile. What does it mean? It means that we have to adapt for any companies. If you apply Agile in healthcare or restaurant or brokers, you have different approaches, different systems, different frameworks, whatever. It's not like, okay, I believe in Kanban or Scrum, and I will apply Scrum only everywhere. First of all, we have to be agile, and we have to have this mindset where customers are our goal to create a value for customers and help organization to create value for customers and collaborate with each other. It's number 3, because sometimes you need to invite someone who's better, like in some approaches, and collaborate, because our common goal as a coach is to create value for customers, for companies, right? And we can do it only together. This is my 50 cents.
Thank you. I'm going on to the next question. Oh, sorry.
Could I just add to what Marina answered, and it's a slightly different response to that. The question was around an agile coach. I guess I would shift that to an agility coach. Getting back to how Joe really and even Evan, emphasized, the term agility as opposed to agile. If an agile coach is defined by coaching somebody or team or organization to implement agile as a methodology, that's one thing. I guess I'm much more interested in enabling an organization to become agile, to be able to demonstrate agility. And so therefore, there's a tremendous amount to gain by being able to become a great executive coach. And an executive coach often will utilize assessments like I've got here as an illustration of how do we provide some insight on their part, key executives with insight into what does their leadership agility look like? And back to what Marina was talking about as well, that then becomes the process of shifting the mindset in terms of what does leadership agility look like? And what are the new behaviors that I need to be able to demonstrate?
So I'm going to jump in here because it's actually what we do. And this is what our graduates say, is that doesn't matter what industry they're in, doesn't matter what, because it's not about agile. Agile is about the agile mindset at its core, which is about a shift of mindset. And it's really about, and a great agile coach is an agile leader, right? They can lead and function with agile mindset to model the behaviors for everybody else to understand what's needed. And that cuts across all industries, cuts across all departments, and it works everywhere. And we know this from thousands of graduates around the world. So there is a solution. That's it. And there's a book. So that's a good start. solve problems.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm going with the next question on Menti. Are there any situations where agile or agility doesn't apply or doesn't work?
So oh, sorry. Do you want to, Evan? I haven't heard from you in a few minutes.
Go, Joe. It's all good.
Oh, you're very kind. The idea of agility is that we can change direction quickly, and that's never bad. However, it does mean you don't have absolutely 100% of resources doing exactly the same thing with no change. So if you have, DuPont Chemical attempted to measure this in the, I believe it was the early 80s. And DuPont Chemical determined if they have certain types of large chemical reactions that have less than 3% variance, when you mix these different bags of chemical powders together in these huge mechanical vats, if there's less than 3% variance across that reaction cycle, they can just pour the bags in and walk away. That's optimum efficiency. You dump the bags in, you walk away, it's going to turn into the chemical you wanted over time as it's stirred. If there's more than 3% variation, you have the possibility of thermal runaway, meaning it explodes and people die and the equipment's destroyed, etc. Like, it's completely unacceptable. So what do you do in that case? You need the ability to make change so you have additional resource to measure small amounts in and inspect and adapt. Measure temperature, measure mix rate before you decide how much to mix in next, to it over a cadence. You introduce basically an inspect and adapt cycle, or what some of us would say is one of the 3 legs of agile, the inspect and adapt cycle. So when would you not want agile? DuPont Chemical would say when you have less than 3% variation across the entire aspect of whatever you're building. What people want is going to change less than 3%. Who's going to do it, the resources they're going to use, the environment around it when it's done, the approvals, the regulations. If those are extremely likely to change less than 3%, then sure, make your master plan, shoot it to the dark side of the moon where you can't change it, and let it just run. The problem is there's a more modern science, systems thinking, and systems thinking posits that you get to unpredictable levels of interaction as soon as you introduce a single human. and I think that tells us the bound, and not even some systems without humans are also at currently more than 3% variation. And I think that tells us where the applicability of some type of inspect and adapt method, I will say probably agility, are likely a good idea, likely useful.
I would add something. Sorry, Evan, go ahead.
No, actually, Joe said what I said, what I was going to say, and he included explosions, which I wasn't going to do. So he wins. Marina, all yours.
I'll just add something. How I understand that a company doesn't need agile, for example, if founder of the company or head of the company doesn't want to change himself or herself, it means that maybe it's not right time to apply agile, because I believe all executives in level 1 have to be changed. They will need to be changed. And sometimes I have requests like, Marina, please change the company, change the sales, change middle management, but please don't touch us. Don't touch. We're okay. Everything is fine with us. We're very agile. Look at me, but we're very agile. And this is when I say, call me later. I'm not sure if you need it right now.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going on to the next question. What are some stuff that people call agile that slow down the pace of innovation?
So I will answer this one. I'll take a crack. First of all, I'm going to talk generically, then I'll talk very specifically. So generically, as humans, we're very good at putting things into buckets. This is something or this is not something. And when we create segmentation, when we create these mental models, it actually introduces a value judgment, good versus bad, us versus them. Agile good, not agile bad. Now, as I think everyone has been talking about, right, agile is a lot of different things. It is a mindset, it is practices, there are processes as well. Right? Not everything is good every time. And I think if you just look at the pretty atrocious state of society, a lot of the problems boil down to the fact that we create this highly toxic, antagonistic environment. We create political systems that are hostile. Our organizations are trending authoritarian and almost semi-fascist half the time. We are creating environments where we are expecting workers to create value, but we create systems or economic systems that don't reward or recognize the value that they create. I literally just came back from the US, and I will admit your tipping culture is like, I don't understand it. And reading about the history of slavery and tipping starts to make a little bit more sense. You create environments where value is not recognized throughout an organization. And that's, I'm not just picking on America, that's across the world. Now, when we look at the expectations of agile, the expectations of creating business agility, right? We are assuming that we're going to be creating organizations that have innovation, that are innovative. We're assuming we're creating organizations that are able to deliver value to their customers faster and better than a competitor, and at a speed at which your customers want. That's kind of the point. The problem is, and this goes to what Marina was saying, organizations are generally unwilling to do what is necessary. I talk about theory of constraints, right? My daughter made this little car for me to talk about theory of constraints. And if you are changing an area of the organization that isn't constraining, or you're unwilling to actually make the change in the area that is the constraint, the executives, right, the systems, the governance systems, decision systems, is your organization spending 1,000 to save 100 because you're highly risk averse? Are people being incentivized using very traditional blunt measures? Here in Australia, we had a royal commission into the banking system. Surprise, surprise, bankers, not particularly the most trustworthy of professions. And the incentives, it basically boiled down to the most egregious behaviors, people like opening bank accounts fraudulently under the names of little old grannies, because they were entirely incentivized by how many bank accounts they were opening. So the systems of the organization are fundamentally broken. Now, to get more specific, any practice of agile, any approach, any attempt to create agility in the wrong place, in an area where it's not needed or it's not ready, creates multiple things, not just decreases innovation. Innovation is one element, right? But creates negative and unintended consequences. If you try and force a mindset change or an organization or through an organization that the systems don't support, then at best you're wasting your time. At worst, it's, well, to go to what Michael was saying, it's an abuse of human dignity. It's abuse. Right? If you're putting in place a process which is effective in one area, great, and then you try and apply it wholeheartedly. Like, I am sick and tired of organizations creating bloody pilot programs. You run a pilot, what do? You pick the team that's like, an organization is like, the pilot can't fail, so you pick the team that it's going to work in, right? Because you can control every single variable. And of course the pilot's successful, and you roll that out across the rest of the organization, the whole thing's a basket case. Right? So we know like the bloody Spotify model. We have organizations adopting tribes and squads because that's what someone else keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know if that metaphor makes sense, but outside Australia. But when you've got this attempt to go, oh, that's what this other organization is doing. That's what HBR said. That's what my agile coach said they did over here, and it worked over here. And so therefore we must do the same thing. And they create systems that worked in one context that don't work here. And in many cases, because they fundamentally misunderstand what's necessary. I've seen structural, and don't get me wrong, organizational restructures are completely legitimate. Structural agility is a viable, it's a thing. It's something that you need. But I've seen restructures that have introduced additional handoffs. The whole point is to reduce handoffs so that you actually create a simple flow of value. But once you get to a point where it's like you put it, we're going to go to customer experiences or journey thinking. And at the end of the day, it takes 6 months longer to produce a product. So there's no one thing that you do that's going to decrease innovation. There's no, if you are not looking at the context of your organization, the constraints within your organization, the behaviors and the cultural capabilities of your organization as they are today, to go to what Marina was saying, meet those executives where they are, talk to them in their language. If you're not working on their next step, not the step 10 further up the line, or not the step that they should have taken like 3 years ago. If you're not working on the next step, whatever you're doing is a waste and will probably end up dragging the organization back. Anyway, I could rant a lot longer on this topic, but I might stop here.
No worries. Thank you, Evan. That was very insightful. Next question on the docket. Should recruiting and hiring practices change in an agile world?
May I start? Yes. Yes, and yes. And I would say the first step should be here to change mindset of all HR department first, and then to change hiring approach, adaptation, system of education, adaptation, because sometimes what I saw when we created some culture, piece of culture, agile culture, and then people from different organizations, they came, they felt like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And they just left the company because they were afraid. They didn't have any adaptation system. That's why here, I would say my experience says that when we started agile transformation, we worked a lot with head of HR in the company and helped HR department to adapt for all changes, first of all, for them, and then for whole organization. And it's about education, adaptation, hiring process, because when we have real self-organized team, they hire each other and they fire each other. And for HR department, it's just completely new world. And they sometimes in 99%, they are not ready for that. That's why, yes, my answer is yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Marina. All right.
Well, so for those of us who are curious, we actually have a speaker to talk about Agile HR last month, and she will be in our panel next month in our next month celebration battle royale. So if you want to join us next month there, that will be wonderful. I am going to cut in here because we got questions for Joe. So Joe, there's actually two questions, but I'm going to combining into one. So first is Tesla's culture and ways of working for everyone? And if your answer is no, then what are some drawbacks to Tesla's culture and ways of working?
Super important. So I've never seen anything as fast or as efficient as what I experienced in the Musk companies at Tesla, and then when I went to SpaceX. And it was super fun, but it did require a level of intensity that I don't think is for everyone. I think it's for more people than people think. I think a lot of people could do it and enjoy it, but I don't think it's for everybody. For example, it is at least 12 hours at a stretch. And there's a good reason for that. It's to minimize handoffs and minimize context switching, and that works pretty well. Actually, it works really well. But there are some people who have 2 really good hours of energy a day. They should have an ability to contribute, especially if the work is truly important. There's some people who have clouded thinking part of the day, but they have some really crisp thinking hours, maybe 2 hours, for example, a day. They would not fit into the current structure of Tesla or SpaceX. So what can we do? What is possible? This is my current passion. I call it the justice method. It's taking what I think I learned from working for Elon Musk and saying, how can we get even near that performance? Because the performance is very high level. It is the best I've ever seen on planet Earth and beyond now. How can we get near that, or maybe even match it with 80% or less of the intensity? How can we allow kids, retirees, people with different needs, people with different energetic schedules to participate fully in a meaningful way is my goal, what I call the justice method. And it's an evolving science. That said, there's part of it already in the Agile hardware development course. And here's why I think that's important. I do think the Musk companies are going to continue to be successful. I am very bearish on the Musk companies. And that means some of their impossible sounding goals are likely to continue to come true. Like there very well likely will be a moon base soon. There very well likely will be a self-sustaining colony on Mars during our lifetime, and maybe even relatively soon. Some things that sound just impossible seem, I believe, actually relatively near term. That means the idea of currency. I mean, if you have a self-sustaining city on Mars, what are they going to use yen? Are they going to use RMB? Are they going to use pesos? Are they going to use US dollars? Is that really the most efficient structure as humanity spreads out across other planets? Well, maybe it's an opportunity for a decentralized encrypted currency. And Musk, with a PayPal history, is saying, let's play with a funny one called Dogecoin. And it's actually at a very low price right now relative to its history. There's a strategic reason for that, right? And Musk says we should probably have a central town square for fact-checked or at least open communication. And there's plenty of criticism about that. As you decentralize humanity, some different tech stacks become important. And I think they're going to happen, is where I'm going with this. So if you have basically a new culture package for humanity, a different concept of currency, which I'm asserting is likely, a different concept of communication and factfulness, which I'm asserting is possible. I mean, fundamental things about society may be about to improve, I hope. What culture do you want scaled out among the stars? And if it's only the work ethic of the Musk company, I think that does leave some very important people behind. So I think now is as good a time as any, if not the absolute necessary, most important time to say, how can we have a very inclusive work ethic, a very inclusive, fun, enjoyable way to live that is as productive as Musk is presenting now, because the most effective model will win. So we need to make a really good one. and that's my current life mission. I hope I still got to the core of the question while still following my passion.
So let me push back on you a little bit, because I actually disagree with the last thing you just said.
I think the battle royale started. Let's do it.
I don't think there is one. How many times have we seen on LinkedIn someone posting agile is dead? We tend to create this very extremist, my way is the best way. There is not one approach. And I agree with what you said. We need this like one way is exclusionary. And we need to create an inclusive work approaches, but it's not that the best model will win. It's that there will be 100 different models that are fit for purpose in 100 different contexts. And we need to, if we talk about keeping an open mind, we teach our children that they need to be caring and kind and keep an open mind to different things and try different foods. And I really wish my daughter would try different foods. But we somehow forget this as we get older. We forget this when we go into, especially as consultants and coaches. Marina mentioned this, and she was absolutely right. You need to forget the models. All models are useful. No model is correct. No approach, no process is correct. So the Musk model, the Musk approach, as you describe it, works in some contexts, but won't in others. And it's all true and it's all false simultaneously. And we have to live with that dichotomy and that paradox. It's the human condition.
Evan, I dig it. And I'd like to take a note from New Zealand, just across the water from you. So the written history says, I was not there. The written history says that the Haka war chant, the Maori, came to New Zealand and started basically organized slaughter of the Maoriari. I'm pronouncing this all wrong, my apologies. And the Maoriari vastly outnumbered the Maori, like 10 to 1 or more, maybe even 30 to 1. And the Maoriari said they ran together and had something like a council and said, let's create gifts, let's give a percentage of our lands and say, yes, there are more of us, but this land is large, let's accommodate. And came to the Maori and said, here are our gifts, here's the percentage of lands. And the Maori just killed everybody, murdered everybody, kids, children, parents. And the Maori culture is gone. And the Maori culture won. And when you have a culture, when you have a system that is truly, dramatically more efficient, it eats the other ones. And I will tell you, there's a lot of companies that are about to die.
Yep.
And the only way they're not going to die is if they have mass government protection or they start doing what Elon's doing.
Go, Marina.
But maybe they're going to die because they don't have enough, not enough, just they don't have right mindset. And that's why they're going to die. But I'm with Evan because I believe it's difficult to create just one system for everybody. We have different clothes. We have different size. Like people, imagine we will create just one type of clothes for everybody in whole planet. That's why this is agility, and to have just right culture, which will help them to be adapt for VUCA world, for everything what is going to be tomorrow, and create their own approach. For Elon Musk, it will be one approach. For, I don't know, American government, it will be probably different approach, but it will help them to adapt for many changes, right? That's why, let's have a next question.
I think Nicholas is
Joe.
probably going to say something very similar to what I say, which is there is a universal pattern. And actually, Evan already identified it, is what we teach our kids. It's to have an open mind. This is what he's talking about, is when we're operating the more evolved side of the spectrum as human beings, we have an open mind. We treat people with kindness. We treat people and value them as human beings. We show up like in a responsible adult ourselves and invite others to do the same. There's universal principles, and I'll turn over to Nicholas to talk about what he's seen with his work. There's some universal principles we see at higher performing companies. Now, the trap is that the structures are going to be completely different, which is true, which is Evan's point. The structures are going to be different, the models are different, but they're universal things that are the same, which is about what we call it mindset or shift of consciousness or evolved leadership behaviors. Anyway, I'll turn over to Nicholas.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Anyhow, this is a great conversation to be having because I continue to hear mindset, read about mindset left and right. For 20 years now, since agility consulting has been in place. Our first step is to really fully understand what are the disruptions that's causing the need to change. Whether it's digital disruption, whether it's diversity and employment, whether it's other economic conditions, et cetera. What are going to be those kinds of movers and shakers that are going to cause the mindset to be shifting? It's not going to happen because you read a book. Any of our books that we've written, we all think, okay, really great, just read the book and you're going to believe in it and go forth. It's not going to happen that way. It's just like, again, I use the metaphor of we visit a doctor at least once a year. We get a full-blown profile of what our health profile looks like. And hopefully, just hopefully, sitting down with the doctor is providing the data and the feedback to us saying, work on this, pull back on that, do more of this, eat less, run more, sleep more, etc., and you will stand to live a healthier life. And I would argue that it's very much the same in terms of mindset shift as well. To what degree do we have that health check, that fitness check in terms of leadership agility of an organization based on what they're facing within the context of the business world? And if we don't start there and we start immediately with, I believe that we need to implement Agile at the organization, it's not going to stick. And again, back to what Marina has repeated multiple times, it's around mindset. Mindset's not there. Let's keep doing what we've been doing the past 3 to 5 years because we've made money as a result of that. Let's keep doing the same old thing. I'm close to retirement in 2 years, so therefore I don't want to change anything. We as Agile coaches, agility coaches, et cetera, need to get really crisp about creating the kind of awareness of the disruption that they're facing, whether it's a project team or whether it's the entire organization. What is this disruption that you're facing, and what do you need to turn that around? And hence, we can start playing into all of the characteristics of agility that need to fit into that.
So let me build on that a little bit. So last time I went to the doctor, they gave me some advice. I have not done any of it. I need to exercise more. I need to sleep more, neither of which I have been doing. Same is true of organizations. Right? Organizations can quite happily ignore the advice that they're being given. And I may have disagreed a lot with Joe, but I will agree with one thing. Well, one of the most recent things that you said, in that some organizations won't make it. Right? There are organizations who are operating using approaches and mindsets that are inappropriate and ineffective in the modern economy. And these are the organizations that will not last. And that's okay. All things have a natural end. Organizations have to earn the right to exist. There's no too big to fail. Right? Now, I have to remember that organizations are made of people, and that when organizations fail, there are impacts on people, and there needs to be systems to support that. But that's another conversation altogether. But just because many organizations aren't operating effectively and will not continue to earn the right to exist, does not mean that there is the most successful. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not a two-party system. I'll put it that way. There are multiple approaches, there are even multiple mindsets that are effective, that work. To Michael's point, we try and raise our children, we try and teach our children to be the best they can be, right? But to be their own person. Right? I want my daughter to make decisions that I don't make, that I wouldn't make. I want her to try things that I've never tried. I want her to push boundaries that I've been too afraid to push, because I want her to be better than I am. I want her to be stronger than I am. That's my job as a parent, is to create that environment. And I think most of us, a lot of us here, have transformed organizations or are coaching organizations. Our job isn't to our job isn't to transform them. Our job is to show them what's possible, right? And let them figure out whether they're going to go down that path, a different path, or no path at all. And to Joe's point, some of those organizations won't survive, right? But I still don't think that there's only one way of doing it. Or in fact, to Michael's point, I don't think there's only one mindset. Sorry, JF, we went very much.
Wonderful. Great conversation. It's absolutely great conversation. And we are going to shorten our hand-to-hand combat. It's actually not a hand-to-hand combat. It's actually over to all 5 of you. And David, one of our co-organizers, is actually going to ask this question. And some of you have met him already earlier because he was running our trivia. David?
Hey folks, we had a few questions come in over in our time coming up to our Battle Royale today. And one of the questions was, and it seems very fitting given the current discussion, what changes do management need to make in this VUCA world? So I'm curious on your perspectives, folks, and that's open to anyone.
I'll suggest some. I'm sure there's levels, right? But one extremely efficient organizational shape is to trend towards 100% of staff directly working on the product or service. Most companies have around 60% in leadership or management positions, one or the other. I don't think Tesla and SpaceX have the only answer. In fact, I was saying I hope they don't. I'd like to offer an additional one. I really liked working in Tesla or SpaceX, but I don't think it's for everybody. I'd like to make one that's more inclusive. But I think it has to be competitive with that, or it will lose, is what I was trying to posit. What Musk does as a leader is Musk works in the factory physically 12 or more hours every day. That's really motivating to everybody else, and it sets leadership culture. I mean, I never, ever saw Musk in a meeting or sitting down watching a presentation or making a presentation. Musk and everyone else joins mobs to write code, to program robots, to actually physically load material into robots 12 or more hours every day. And that is what being a leader means when you're trying to improve, innovate, design, and build rockets and cars. Now, that is extreme. As I said, I've never seen anything that fast, where there is very near 100% of all headcount, including the owner, are directly improving the product or service, near 100% of all hours worked, which is the most financial efficient model. But I'm sure there's steps towards that, like recognizing an annual budget might constrain the cadence at which large, meaningful change can be financed. For examples, there's probably meaningful steps before you burn the offices or whatever you decide to do.
Please go ahead, Nick.
I would like to be a bit maybe more specific than Joe in answering that question. What management and certainly what we've experienced with management and transformation over the years has really been in some of the systems and processes that they need to put in place to help reinforce, this transformation. Marina, I think you talked a bit about this as well. More specifically, let's say you are, working with an organization to be able to demonstrate agility, a culture of agility, et cetera. But how do you build that into management's core competencies? How do you build agility into their performance management system, but also into what traditionally happens at least once a year, if not more often than that, succession planning, an identification process that HR really leads, which goes through the process of identifying potential, current performance, as well as future potential. And you build agility into that. And guess what? You promote the people that are best demonstrating and have the potential for agility, and you provide further development for those that don't. You put really the energy and investment and time into transforming a culture by reinforcing that through the systems, the processes, et cetera, that are going to make a real difference and help establish that mindset that you're trying to establish.
And I would
Thanks,
add
Nick.
some, I totally
Please.
agree. And I would add two things. I wish all executives and all managers, they will stop manage anymore and start to support their employees. It's just different actions. And this first thing, and the second thing, to communicate with customers. When I work with executives and I try to inspire them to go and speak with customers, for them, like, Marina, it's not my job. I'm executive. I shouldn't speak with customers, but they have to, because when they understand customers, they understand their needs. It helps them to lead the company. Does it make sense? This is my experience. This is two things which I would love to add to all executives in this planet.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, everyone. And we are actually going to move to our final round, which is our lightning round. Now, each speaker will take turns to answer the same question. We will isolate the speakers so that they can't hear the questions ahead of time, nor will they hear how other speakers answers. Now, speakers, you only have 30 seconds to answer the question, and we will remove you after 30 seconds, even if you are mid-sentence. So make sure you keep your answers short, and you will see the countdown clock, actually, so you will know when your time is up. JF is going to move the speakers to the waiting room now. Thank you very much. And Josette, another one of our SFBABAM organizers, will be the host for this final round. So when JF is actually ready, removing everyone except one person. Ooh, that is very interesting. Wow. Okay. Is Michael the first one? I thought Evan was the first one.
Oh, we lost them all.
Yeah, we actually lost them all.
Oh, they are in the waiting room.
I put them in the
All right.
waiting room. How come they left?
All right, so I am actually omitting Evan because Evan is the first one to come in. And I will need help to spotlight Evan. Okay, all right, we do have the first speaker, and someone also needs to spotlight me. All right, and Josette, please, because she will be running. So Josette is another one of our SFBABAM organizers, and she will be the host for this final round. So Josette, take it away. 30 seconds on the clock.
Okay, Evan, now it's your time. So 4-day work weeks, yay or nay, and why? 30 seconds starts now.
Personally, yes. I can do as much in 4 days as I can do in 5. There's an old adage, work expands to fill the available time. So I actually think that work has become less dense. We fill our days with meetings, with a lot of additional work that when we actually constrain it, 4 days.
Right, time out. Thanks, Evan. All right, I think Joe's up. Do we have Joe? Is Joe here?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Joe. 4-day work week, yay or nay, and why? Might be muted.
Joe's muted.
Okay. I only have 30 seconds.
Okay.
The 4-day work week was awesome because then there was the 3-day weekend. But what I'll say is, like, I then went out hiking. And so I came back exhausted at the start of the next, which was then the 3-day work week. And then I had the 4-day weekend, but I was exhausted. And then the shift was still 12 hours and actually it ends up being more like 16, 17 hours, the way it works out. And so it ended up being bad, but only because I was like, I have a 3-day weekend, right? So as long as I pace it, I think it's great.
All right, thanks. All right, I think Marina's up. This is a lightning round. Marina, are you there? We're waiting for Marina. Oh, perfect, Marina. Okay, your question is 4-day work week, yay or nay, why?
4-day, sorry, could you repeat? I didn't get it.
4-day work week, yay or nay, why?
I think, yes, I like it. It will be more focused and more resultive.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Marina.
That was quick.
That was awesome. Okay, Michael, you're up. Is Michael up? There we go, Michael. Okay, let's just make sure that he's unmuted. So 4-day work week, yay or nay? And why?
Ooh. Why?
Interesting.
Different organizations function differently and have different needs.
Hmm.
Different people. And this is the common pattern is that people pick the pattern that works for them, either holistically within the whole organization and also at individual levels. And there's no one right answer.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. All right, Nick is up. Do we have Nick? It's exciting. Okay, Nick, make sure you're unmuted. So 4-day work week, yay or nay, and why?
4-day work week, I think it very heavily depends on the business environment and the context of which they're working. So I believe very much more in the hybrid work design, which really does take a look at adapting and adjusting, flexibility in the kind of work, whether work is being done 4 days, 3 days in a facility, outside of a facility, or in a virtual environment or not. So mine is quasi.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick. All right, let's bring Evan in for our second question. Evan, are you in the room? Evan? There we go, Evan. Okay, so second question is certifications, yes or no, and why?
Education is vitally important. Certifications are an evidence of certification, like a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. There are crappy certifications that do not prove any evidence, and there are good certifications that do prove that you have learned something. So it's yay and nay, depending on the rigor, integrity, and credibility of a certification. And yeah, there you go, 4 seconds left.
Sounds good. Thanks, Evan. Let's bring Joe in. Same question. It's exciting. Where's Joe?
I'm back. Okay, what's our question?
Okay, the question is certifications, yes or no, why?
If they're meaningful, it's awesome. Like if you get a black belt and it's because you passed some amazing self-defense test, people are like, you really know how to defend yourself. You have this black belt, this certification. But if you go to the places where you just like pay $2,000 and get one, it's meaningless. In fact, even cheapens the ones that maybe have some meaning. So if there's a meaningful test, like you've done something that actually shows capability or skill or what that thing's supposed to.
Oh, time is up, Joe. Let's bring Marina in. Marina, are you in? Hey, Marina. Second question is certifications, yes or no, why?
Yes, if it give you experience. I mean, if you sell yourself with certification much bigger, for example, it will help you to earn money more. But honestly, I believe that real experience is much better than certifications. And if you have a choice, I would make a choice to have a lot of experience and sell this experience, then collect a lot of different certification without real experience.
Okay. Thanks, Marina. Let's bring Michael up. Michael. Okay, second question. Certifications, yes, no, why?
certifications are fantastic because they get people to do things and they get companies to fund it. Certifications are the worst because largely they're meaningless except in certain very specialized circumstances.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Michael. Let's bring Nick in. Hey, Nick, are you in? Nick? Oh, there you go, Nick. Can you hear me? All right. Second question is certifications, yes, no, or why, and why?
I think certification has value. It depends on what are we certifying them in. You know, for example, I believe that much of the agility coaching, and I've made this comment before, that broaden out the type of behaviors that we would be certifying, you know, coaches to demonstrate as great coaches, not just in methodology of agile methodology. So a broader, you know, kind of certification.
Okay, thanks, Nick. All right, let's bring Evan in.
All right, I think we are actually running out of time, and unfortunately, so even though we do have more questions for the lightning round, but we are.
Oh, this
So
is great.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that was so fun.
Let's bring everybody back in. Let's bring all our speakers back in, and no need to spotlight them.
I'm so impressed with the organizers and organization. I mean, and you tried a lot of novel things that I have not experienced in a live event before, and you actually pulled them off. I'm amazed. Well done, organizers. Very creative, excellent execution.
Thank you so much. And what a celebration, what a battle royale. That was exciting. I want to thank everyone for participating in our first birthday party. Thank you, speakers, for joining us. I hope it was as fun for you as it was for us as we were planning this event. And thank you for everyone who participated. Thank you for all of you who actually submitted questions ahead of time. So we have all these awesome questions to ask our speakers. Now, before we end, Amit, who rounds out our SFBABAM organizing team, would like to get some quick feedback from you. Amit.
Yes, and thank you so much. So let's post the Mentimeter questions. And what if you guys can join the same Menti? So if you have not refreshed, you should refresh it. The question I have for you: to what degree did you enjoy this party?
You are awesome, Amit. I didn't join the Menti because I was all busy like being a speaker, but maybe I should. I need the link again then. Sorry.
Yes, please drop the link in chat. And go ahead and.
Oh, I see it, Manwai. Thank you.
Yes, smash those buttons.
Smashing.
If folks have not joined it, it's going to be a Menti. Thank you. I have a few people joining the Mentimeter poll, so all the questions will be there. We're going to ask a few more questions. That is a gift back to us as organizers.
Awesome.
Right. I think we can move on to the next question, just in the interest of time.
Okay.
What is one thing you loved about this event?
Why is the question one thing and then you got three options?
Well, because you could have three one things. We want to be inclusive, Evan. Those facial expressions, I can second that. See, that one thing was already three words. It's lovely. Different opinions, format, topics in different perspectives. That is so lovely. Debate among participants. I think it was so much energy. Zoom backgrounds, varied opinions. Wonderful. Munwai, I can agree to that one. All right, let's move on to the next question. How can we improve your experience? Post the recording. Keep being awesome. Champagne.
Oh, champagne. Who's that? You get my vote.
They may be just describing the picture, Joe. Funny as it sounds, have it longer, share recordings, make Discord and healthy disagreement, healthy tensions. Yeah, we love that.
Mhm.
To invite more people a little bit longer. Yeah.
Wow.
Next question.
So good.
And what is one thing you're taking away or walking away with?
Uh,
Yes. No one way. Maori versus Maori. Maori. I can't even pronounce it, but I honored them. Build cultures. One size does not fit all. Michael Sahot and Maria Alex's books. Oh, there were so many lovely books. Dogecoin. Explosions are bad, of course, unless you're paving ways for others. Agile sales. And I think that is the last question. Is that the last question?
That's it. So
I-
thank you everyone for coming. And on behalf of the SFBABAM co-organizers whom you have all met today, we hope to see you next time. And as I mentioned, we will continue the celebration next month in August. And it will have a new panel of speakers. It's the panel of speakers who actually speaks in our morning time frame. So hopefully you'll be able to join us next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Nick,
Bye.
I'm ordering your book right now.
Oh, good. Joe, we need to talk.
Oh, please.
Let's
Yes, please.
let's reconnect.
Woohoo!
Sounds good. Thank you.
Ciao,
Everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Have a good day. Good evening.